Hello, everyone. It's Scotty T. It's your Comedy Minute. And I have a fantastic comedian, actor, writer. He's been in a batch of movies, a batch of TV shows. His latest dry bar comedy special is called Domestic Nomad. And it is a real pleasure to have Mark Riccadonna here today. Mark, did I say that right?
That is correct, sir.
Mark Riccadonna, it is a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for having me on. It's great to meet you. I was watching your podcast. I love it. I love
I
what you're
love your
doing,
Steve
man.
Miller Band shirt we talked about before we went on the air. I love Steve Miller Band.
It's such a great band. I became friends. Crazy story. I was in Nashville doing a show, and after the show, I started talking with this one guy, and we were having such a good time. And we exchanged numbers, and he left. And the owner of the venue goes, "How do you know Joseph Wooten?" I go, uh, "Who's Joseph Wooten?" He goes, "The guy you were just talking to." And I was like, "Oh my god, I had no idea." And he goes, "Yeah, he's like Nashville royalty. Him and his brother Victor, and they have a band called the Wooten Brothers.
Yeah, I
But
know.
he's
Yeah.
also the keyboard player for Steve Miller."
Yeah.
And I'm a huge Steve Miller fan.
Yeah, me
So as
too.
we started talking, anytime they're on tour and they're in the Northeast, my wife and I, we go and we hang out. My wife and his wife have become friends. And then
Yeah.
I became friends with Ron Wisco, who's the drummer,
Yeah.
and his wife and my wife, they all get along. So I get to go see the music I love with the people I love.
Sure.
And it's like, I
Imagine,
have a
imagine,
blessed life.
imagine what it was like for me. My artist was the opening act for the Steve Miller Band.
No way.
Curtis Salgado was opening up for him,
Yeah.
and I was backstage and stuff. And this, oh my God, I was, I'm like you. But hey, let's get on here. Let's
Let's
because we
do
got a lot to cover. Because you're a
it.
pretty
Yeah.
amazing guy yourself.
Thank
I
you,
want
man.
to because when I have someone like you that's done so much. I kind of like to go in a chronological order so it has some symmetry to it. Pretend like I know what the hell I'm doing. Now, you shared with me that you're in Ohio, but you live in Pennsylvania. Were you born and
Yes.
raised in that area?
I was born in Warren, Ohio, which
Okay.
it's right. I lived in a little town. It's funny.
I've
Everybody
been
always
I've
says,
been there. I know all about it.
you know, Warren. Okay, great. So I was born at the hospital in Warren. I grew up my early years in Canton, Ohio.
Yep.
Then high school, I was right outside Youngstown, a little town called Brookfield.
Yep.
And as a teenager, I moved to New York City. So that was like my early
Okay.
years.
Okay. Yeah, I was at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton.
Oh,
But
yeah.
so now, yeah, so now we're going to go to New York. You're playing right into my hand. You moved to New York to study theater, right? You went,
Yes. So here's it's kind of a fun story because I was always a connector. I was always the glue in between the bricks. I
right?
was a jock. I played football and I wrestled and I was pretty good. You know, I was the
Yeah.
captain of the football. I had a blessed life, man. I was
Me
captain of
too.
the
Me
football
too.
team,
Yep.
prom king. I have parents who love and support everything I do. I had a great life. I had an older brother I looked up to. He was my best friend. And I was going to go to college and play football. I was just wanted 4 more years of being on a team. I knew that I had no chance of going any further. I
Okay.
probably wouldn't even start in college, but I knew I could go to college for 4 more years and be part of a team. And I got hurt wrestling. And my football coach and my mom both said, you need to figure out what you want to do with your life. You know, you got to put it together. And my brother and I were both really into art. We were really into art. I was in the school plays and I was a painter and I did photography and all that kind of stuff. And I
Okay.
went, you know what? I want to be an actor. I have
Okay.
zero real experience, but I go, I want to be an actor. They go, okay, but you have to go to school. You have to actually learn. You can't just move to New York. So I uh, tried to get in several schools, different acting schools, and I took a real big chance on one, but it was called the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and I didn't think I had a shot getting in. Most of these people already had degrees that were getting in there. Like 2,000 people auditioned to go. They let 200 in. I go, there's no chance I'm getting into school. But you know what? I get to spend a day in New York to go to the audition. It was
Right.
just because I wanted a trip to New York. And I got rejected by every school except the academy.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. So I got to go to New York. I figured I was going to fail out. I would never be asked back to the second year. I ended up falling in love with acting, and I took it as serious as I took sports. And I ended up going all 3 years. They go from 2,000 people audition, 200 get in. The second year, they only let 60 back. I got in, and then the third year they only let 20 in, and that you become a company and you just do plays. And somehow I made it all the way through, and I couldn't believe it. And I thought, this is what I'm going to do with my life. I'm going to be a broke theater kid, and I'm just going to do theater. And like, I don't sing or anything like that, but I don't know if you know, like Sam Shepard plays and Edward
Right.
Albee and all those guys. I love the dark, weird, you know, theater, and I needed a day job. I
Okay.
needed
Well,
something to pay rent, So
well,
I
it
got a
seems
job at a comedy club.
it seems like somebody showed you my notes ahead of time because no, no, I'm serious because I've written down that then you went to theater and did that, but then how did stand up start, and was there a catalyst for stand up starting? Did it happen, or was there correct me if I'm wrong? Did the acting were you because that was the movies and the TV stuff, and then stand up, or
No, so it kind of happened while I was in school. I got a job at a comedy club.
okay,
I went in. There was a girl at our school that was like, "Hey, you should come to the comedy club and hang out." And me and my roommates were like, "Yeah, let's check it out." I had no idea she was recruiting us to get jobs there because they needed workers. And so we went. She was like, and it was great because she told us, she goes, "Not supposed to let anyone know, but Chris Rock's coming tonight. So make sure you guys, come and it'll be
okay,
a lot of fun." So we go, we watched this incredible comedy show. And, there wasn't comedy nerds back then. So, like, we didn't know the people that weren't famous, but were really good. Like, now there's an advantage because the internet. So like now you guys know comedians, like you get to know comedians that aren't on television and not,
yeah,
whatever. We went and saw this show and they were names. We had no idea who they were. And they were just so good. And now looking back, it was Ted Alexandro, it was Andrew Kennedy, um, Mike Yard. It was all these great comedians that aren't famous, but they were so funny. We were like holding our ribs, laugh, just couldn't believe how funny they were. And then Chris Rock showed up, and he was getting ready for a special, and so he was at tip top shape, and he went up and we were laughing so hard we couldn't believe how great it was. And then she was like, "You guys should work here. You guys like it." And so we all went and got jobs. The three of us, we applied for jobs, and my one roommate became a bartender. The other roommate was a waiter, and then I tried to be a waiter. Turns out I'm a horrible waiter. But the people didn't want to fire me. The comedy club didn't want to like tell me no, but they were like, "Listen, you're not a good waiter. Maybe we can find another position for you." Tried to be a bartender. I was too young, so I wasn't allowed to bartend. And they were like, "Would you answer phones and like seat people and like be like kind of a manager, day to day man?" I was like, "Yeah, I'd love it." So I started working at this comedy club, Stand Up New York. It's on the Upper West Side, and it was life changing. Hanging out with comedians, and I had a lot of free time with the comics while they were waiting to go on stage, and I just have to watch, make sure the waiters are doing their job, make sure everything's going smooth, lighten the comedians when their time's up. So I had a lot of free time hanging out with the comedians, and they were all so fun and nice, and we'd hang out with them after the shows, and they kind of were like, you should go up, because they all thought I was a comic, that I wanted to be a comic, because most of the people who had my job were going up on stage at the end of the night and doing time. So
right.
they all thought I was a comic. They're like, "We never saw you go up." And I was like, "Well, not really a comic." And next thing you know, I start writing in private and writing and writing. And then finally the time came that somebody was like, "Hey, somebody didn't show up on time. Do you want to go up and do five?" And I was like, "Well, I have no idea what I'll do." Meanwhile, I've been working my butt off to try and put together an act. And I went up and it didn't go bad. Like,
Okay.
I, I think if we watched it right now, we would be cringing at how horrible I was. But at the time, it was
You
like,
thought you
oh,
thought you were great. Yeah. No. Okay. Good.
yeah. I mean, a million comics have said it before, but like comedy's like doing drugs, man. You do it, and all of a sudden
Once
you're
you
hooked.
did that first show, then did you keep doing stand up at that point?
Yeah, and so I started going up at the end of shows. They call it the check spot, but it wasn't really a thing yet. So, how New York clubs work is you have the MC, they do a chunk of time, then they bring up a guest spot who does 10 minutes, and then they have 20-minute spots, and there's three, sometimes four, and they do 20-minute spots. And then in between the last comic, there's like a 5 to 10 minute chunk where the waiters drop all the checks and the MC would go up and they would just eat their eat shit. They just
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
bomb because everybody's paying their checks. But
yeah.
as soon as the checks got in, they'd bring up the last comment. Well, the MCs hated doing that part because they would go up and bomb. And so started going like, I'll take that spot. Like if you don't want to go up, I'll do it. And so the MCs would always want me to go up because they were friends. And I
Yeah.
started getting kind of good at it because I could keep them paying attention even though they were paying. And it wasn't like I was getting huge laughs, anything like that, but I could keep their attention. And
Okay.
that's what I did for like a year. And a couple comics took notice and they were like, hey, man, you're really good at like, the joke was I could turn a crowd into an audience. That was like the term they would use. They're like,
Right.
man, you make these guys an audience. So I had a couple comics and they would say like, hey, you have a car. If you drive me to this gig, open the show, and as soon as the crowd gets going, bring me on and I'll do an hour. And so I started getting work. I got to work with great guys. I mean, from Jim Gaffigan, Greg Giraldo, like they weren't famous then. They were up and comers. We're talking 20 years ago. And next thing I know, like they were giving me money to do that. It wasn't a ton of money.
What a concept.
And I'm like, I can make money doing this. And they're like, yeah, like you drove me out here, you did time, like here's, $100, here's $150. Next thing I
Wow.
know, I was like, I can't believe you can get paid for this. And so then I started taking it real serious and trying to
Okay.
really write real stuff. And funny enough, that's when I lost the plateau. When I started to get serious, I
He
started
got serious
bombing.
in it.
As soon as I took it serious, I died for like 6 months. I couldn't get a laugh because I was trying too hard.
Okay.
And yeah, and that's kind of, and I kept the job at the club and I kept getting promotions at the club because the owner would like, you know, fire somebody for, thinking he took money or firing somebody because they weren't showing up. And I
Okay.
was super honest and I was a super,
Yeah.
I loved the club. I loved everything about the club.
Sure. Sure.
And my roommates all worked there. So like we took over the energy of the club, and it was like comics loved coming there because as soon as they walked in, they were like our saying was the show starts when they walk in. So
Right.
everybody was like positive, excited, friendly, and in a New York club that's kind of rare.
Yeah.
And we just had this cool club, and then I became the night manager, and I was the assistant to the booker, and then I became the booker.
Okay.
And I had this friendship with the comics, and it was everything kind of was falling together. And then it got to a point where I was like, hey, I'm making enough money. I don't know if I need to be here. And I was out of school. I was doing acting stuff still,
Right.
but I was like, I think I could really do this. Like, I think I could take this serious and really do it. The next thing you know, I mean, I was featuring, and it was such a big deal. And other clubs on the road knew I was a booker of a club, so they were like, "Hey, we can book you twice a year. We can only book that headliner once, so we'd love to have you back." And then when they would give me another date, they'd go, what headliner do you want to bring with you? Because
Right.
they knew I had connections to the
Right.
to the comedians. So I was the only feature who brought his own headliner.
Okay. Well,
And
again, you're playing into my hand a little bit because you performed all over the world. You were in the Armed Forces Entertainment. I saw a clip with you, Elaine Boozler. How
yeah,
far ahead is that from? I mean, from just keep going, right?
yeah, it was. I mean, people like to say they like to say like stuff happened overnight or this thing made my career go to a different place. 100% opposite for me. Every day was just a baby step, a baby step, a baby step. And right when I'd be frustrated because I'm like, nothing's happening, I would look back, and I look back at 6 months, and I look back at a year, and I would
Yeah.
see there was a ton of growth, but it was all tiny, tiny
Yeah.
growth. You know what I mean? It was like not enough to notice. It's like when you try to lose weight. You never know you lose weight until you see a picture of yourself, and you're like, "Whoa, I did! All right, like good for
I
me."
don't have to worry about that. Don't worry about that.
I'm on that
Anyway,
fight
but
right
but
now.
so then you just kept doing this, and then how did the armed forces thing come in? Was that later in the career?
Yeah, I was in the New York Comedy Festival. I just had a spot on a show, whatever. And I did my set. I got off stage, and a woman approached me and said, me and like there was like four other comics, and said like, would you guys be interested in performing for the troops? And we're all like, yes, absolutely, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
It is 4th of July, so here comes my
I have
rah
a
rah.
flag. I have a flag here. I was going to wave. Good. No, this is 4th of July today. We're recording this on the 4th.
Yeah. And I was, excited to do it. And she goes, okay, I'll be in contact. And I figured I'm not getting, whatever.
Yeah.
So the next day she calls my phone. I'm at home. And she goes, listen, we want to have you come and perform in Iraq. And you have to do, she goes, I want you guys to do Iraq first. Because if you do Iraq, we know you're serious. Because a lot of people would come and they'd want to do like Germany and the South
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Pacific,
Okay.
all the fun, vacation-y gigs. And I was like, no, I want to do those ones. I want to do that. My father was a Vietnam veteran. My father-in-law
Yeah.
is a Vietnam veteran. So I wanted to give back, and it was for them, not for me. And she kept using the word volunteer. She kept saying volunteer. And so I assumed it was for no money. I was fine with that. But then after we hung up the phone, I went online, and computers weren't how they are now. But I remember I looked up flights to Baghdad because I assumed when she said we're volunteering, we're paying our own way.
Yeah.
So I looked, and flights were, we're at war with Iraq. So flights were like $12,000.
Oh, good Lord.
And I'm like, I'm 19 years old. Like, I don't have a pot to piss in. I live in the shithole in Queens. And I called her back, or I emailed her, and I just said, hey, is there like any loans I could get through the government? And so she immediately called back and was like, what are you talking about? And I go, listen, I'm broke and I'm happy to pay it back, but like, I don't even have money on a credit card to
To
afford the
get, yeah, to
flights
get a
there.
flight.
And I'm happy to do it, and I'll pay the money back, and we'll figure it out. But like, I can't afford the flights. And then she goes, "We fly you, like we fly you there, and we take care of you. You're not going to spend your money while you're doing this." And I said, "Oh, I'm in. Like, sign me up. We'll
Right.
go tomorrow."
Okay.
Like, but I was so nervous that I had to
Yeah.
pay for the flight. So I ended up doing the first one, and I was with Carol Montgomery, which if you know her, she's
I know Carol.
hilarious.
She's been on the show.
She
Funny
used
women of a certain age.
Yeah, and before she was that, she was national mom because
Yeah.
she did more USO tours and Armed Forces Entertainment tours than anybody I know. Um, she and so Carol, I was on the show with her, and then we just kept doing it over and over. And next thing you know, it was like filling my calendar, traveling all over the world, and we are doing such cool shows. Like I've been to Diego Garcia, Singapore, the Marshallese Islands, Europe, South America, Central America, traveling all over. And I go, I can't believe, and this should be the title of my biography. I cannot believe the stuff I've seen and the people I've met, all because I tell dick jokes. Like it's unbelievable, you
Well,
know.
let me ask you, do you have a favorite? Because after being in all these places and you played all over, I think comedy 22 years or more, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
25 years
longer.
of comedy.
Yeah, whatever. Do you have a favorite place that you enjoy playing, and is it and then one that you don't like playing?
Nostalgic wise, it would be Iraq. That was the greatest tour I've ever done. It was 30 days. We did
Okay.
2 shows a day. We had helicopters flying us everywhere we went. I just went through it with my kids. I have two little kids,
How
10
old
and
were you?
12.
How old were you at that point?
I think when we did Iraq, I was 20, maybe
Okay.
21. 21. I
Wow.
was 21.
Okay. Wow.
Because I remember, you're not allowed to drink there, and so that was like a funny thing because it's dry. The Middle East is dry, and so I was 21, and I was just showing my kids. I have all these plaques and the challenge coins, and I mean, my parents' closet, it's just filled with memorabilia from these, and they
From
were
the
from
time,
like
yeah.
princes of Bahrain, and coins from generals and admirals, and like these really cool. And the kids couldn't believe it. They were
That's
just
so
blown
cool.
away by it. And I have all these great photos and whatever. And we just kept doing them. And it was such a great time. I mean, it was a 10-year period where it was like every other month I was going somewhere.
How about a place that you don't like to play?
Places I don't like to play. Oddly enough, I live outside of Philadelphia. I am not a huge fan of playing Philadelphia. Um, I've had my life threatened twice on the
I was
stage.
gonna say, and because we shared, I used to work in Philadelphia. I lived in Philadelphia. I love it. I love it.
I've been on stage and people threaten my life,
I
and
know.
it was like, what?
That's how
You know,
Philadelphia is. That's how Philadelphia. That's how I became an Eagles fan. I'll tell you that story one day. I almost lost my life not rooting for the Eagles. I have to ask this because this is really interesting to me. I'm a contributing writer, Saturday Night Live Weekend Update. How old were you then, and how was that experience?
so it's. I wish I had better story for it, but I was
Well,
just
no, I
part of
mean,
the.
listen, if you did it, it's cool.
Yeah, no, I mean it was really awesome, and it's really cool when people see that credit and then they are nice. They open up and want to know things. But I emailed about 50 jokes a week to Kevin Brennan, who was a direct writer for Michael Che, and it was
Okay.
getting. There was like three of us, and we worked as a team, and we would send it to Kevin. Kevin would take the best stuff, take it to Michael, and once in a while, a joke will get to a rehearsal, and then every once in a while, it would make it to air. And I
Oh,
had
okay.
like I think I had four jokes make it to air, which is like these really proud moments that nobody really knows or cares, But
Well,
then
no, I
it's
mean,
like,
I've had, I've done 300 or more of these. I've had people that wrote for Joan Rivers, and or Elaine got a joke on the Tonight Show. Joan Rivers, her
yeah,
joke. It's got to be
yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah. I mean, it's such a awesome moment to be sitting in a hotel, like I was to be on the road, and I immediately wanted to get home and watch
Saturday
SNL
Night
to see if
Live.
a joke made it. And next thing and funny enough, we wrote for Michael Che, but Colin Jost did two of the
Did your joke?
jokes that I wrote.
That's funny. Well,
But yeah,
let's shift gears a little bit to the acting because I want to
yeah,
know how did that come after because let me just give you credit. You were on a batch of TV shows. I've written down here you uh, directed a short film Through Open Doors. You were in movies Days of Power,
yeah.
um, Beer League, Unsuited. How did that come about? And do you enjoy acting as much as
I absolutely love acting, and
okay?
I love acting. I love directing a lot, um, and I think comedy gave me an advantage over a lot of just people who just study acting because comedy teaches you to think on the fly and be in the moment. Because if you're not in the moment on stage, the audience can feel it and it just, you'll start to lose them. So, like, I feel like comedy really helped to make my acting better. And like, I really like, so the Unsuited, this is a kind of cool story. Unsuited is a show, and hopefully it's going to be coming out this year. It did have a release date, and then it got pushed back, and I'm not sure why. So it got pushed back, but it will be coming out on either, I don't know if I'm supposed to say, it's going to be on a streaming service.
Yeah, sure.
Um, and we shot the whole season, and my character was kind of a smaller character. He was, like in the first season, like out of 10 episodes, I was in maybe five of them. But me and the lead character had such good chemistry off stage
They
that
put
the
you.
writers actually wrote me in more and
Okay,
got me in
that's
more
cool.
stuff, which was really awesome. And I really loved the director. I loved the producer and the writer. I met them
Right.
on that set. And we actually got along so well that they put me in a little more. But then the executive producer and the writer goes, I have an idea. Why don't we do a sketch show with you two? And so we did it, and it's called Checked Out. And you can go to watch213.tv, and it's free, and it's a sketch show, and they're like 3 to 5 minutes long, and it's about me and this other guy, Mike. I'm the politically incorrect guy, and he's the very politically correct guy. He got wrongly me too'd, so he's oversensitive about everything.
Yeah.
My character did some time, got out. He's just happy to have a job, and he just likes laughing. So the two of us work at this bodega outside the UN. And so every episode, somebody from a different country or different region of the country comes in, and we basically fuck with them.
Well, you mentioned that. Do you still do the drinking joke storytelling podcast?
So we took a big hiatus. During the pandemic, we did every single day. We were
Oh,
on
really?
every
Okay.
single day. We had, I mean, you name people, they were on. Every comedian you can think of came on. We had great musicians come on. We did marathons. We raised money for people who were in need. We do these like
Okay.
marathon, like 3 day nonstop podcast where you
Okay.
could donate to a cause, and a big one was oh my God, what's his name? The Jiffy Jeff. Jiffy Jeff. We raised money. He had brain cancer, and his because of it was the pandemic, he wasn't getting his medic from SAG or any of that stuff. So we raised money for him, and we got to just. I mean, it's half of the fun of being a comedian is hanging out in the green room, right? Like,
For you, yeah.
and
Let me
yeah,
ask,
like this right now, just hanging out, talking shop. Like, so we love doing it. But we've been on a big hiatus. We have 2 new episodes that will be coming out. So
oh,
we're
good. Okay,
we're gonna
good.
try to pick it back up because everybody misses it and everybody keeps asking, when are we gonna
Yeah.
do another episode?
Well, you mentioned your probably favorite show or favorite memory would be Iraq, but I mentioned that I'm an idiot. At least favorite show where things didn't go so good.
I did a casino, and while I was on stage, and my act is very, I don't get heckled a lot.
This isn't your closing, is it?
What's that?
This isn't
No,
your
no,
com.
no.
No, no, this is another story, right? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
this is another. I don't get heckled much. Like I make fun of myself. I'm the butt of the joke. I don't really attack or have strong
Right.
opinions that make people upset, and so they heckle. So I've been heckled a few times, but nothing major. I was in the middle of a bit, and this guy just stood up and just started telling me that he was going to kill me after the show. He said he was going to put a bomb under my car. He told me he was going to slit my throat. And I was like, dude, you are the worst hitman ever. There's 200 people here. You're supposed to leave no witnesses. There's 200, and I tried to have fun with him and like turn it like, buddy, we're friends. There's no reason to, whatever. But he just kept going. And I'll never forget the hate in his eyes as he was yelling at me. And it was like, seriously, for months, I thought about this. Like, why did that guy hate me so much?
And now I brought it back up. Were you in Philadelphia?
I was.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Couple quick ones, and then we're gonna get to your closing. Favorite food?
Favorite food. Oh, geez. I'm going
Yeah.
with gnocchi with a basil sauce.
Uh, Lobster and steak, for God's sakes.
They could be on the side. I love
That's what
gnocchi, man.
my favorite answer so far is endless shrimp. Just
Whoa,
keep,
that's a good idea, especially if you're
just,
on death row. Just keep eating.
as long as you keep eating. Favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show? Jesus. Oh
You
my
can do a
God, that's a
couple. You can do
tough
a
one.
couple.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you my first cognitive memory, is that what it's called? My first memory I had as a child was watching the Tonight Show with
Okay.
my grandmother and my aunt. I'll never forget. I used to fake being sick when they would be babysitting. They'd babysit me because my mom and dad both had to work. and I would be over their house, and I would fake being sick, and they would let me sit on the couch with them, and I would have my head on my grandma's lap. She'd be rubbing my hair and rubbing my head, and I would watch the Tonight Show with them. And I loved when the comedian came out. I
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah.
And the first comedians I remember were Richard Jenny, Rodney Dangerfield, and Larry Miller. I
Yeah.
remembered the three of them, and it was such a big deal to watch this. I thought I was getting away with something. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
really thought I was getting away with something. And I'll never forget, I had cousins that were older, and I was the youngest out of everybody in my generation. And they would come home. They were out partying. They were in high school. And when they would come home, my aunt and grandma would then go to bed or whatever. And I would still stay
Stay
up, and
stay up.
they would watch Letterman because Letterman was right
Yeah.
after Carson. And I would sit and watch Letterman, and I remember thinking, like, wow, like I can't believe that I'm allowed to do this. You know, like it was such a big deal. So that nostalgia wise,
Okay. I met
gotta
Rodney,
go.
by the way. I met Rodney
Oh,
Dangerfield, Beverly Hills. All right. Favorite TV, favorite movie.
favorite movie? Oh, this is great. Something About Mary.
Really?
Uh, yeah, Peter
I thought it
Farrelly.
was going to be a football movie. So I know you're a big football guy.
I
No,
know, man.
no. Something About Mary's a funny movie.
My top three movies, top five movies, three of them are Peter Farrelly movies. I love
Okay.
everything that guy does. And I remember I was in high school, Something About Mary came out. I think my brother was a senior in high school. And we went to see that movie. And at the end of the movie, I looked at him and goes, I can't believe you can do this.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe, like, the stuff that makes me and you laugh,
Yeah.
they're doing in public. Like, this is fucking awesome.
Great
And
stuff.
I absolutely love everything Peter Farrelly does.
Yeah. Well, I started with a really bad joke, and that's my kind of humor. I like dark, silly shit. We don't have a lot of time. I hope you'll come back because I try and keep them under a half
Anytime.
hour. But I want to
Yeah.
thank Rich. I want to thank Rich Scheidner for getting us together.
No,
And
he's the man.
how did you meet Rich?
Um, Funny enough, we knew of each other forever, and he quit comedy. Like he
Yeah,
quit doing comedy, and I am a big comedy historian. I love the
me
history of
too. Yeah.
comedy, and my friend Marshall Childs, who owns the Laughing Skull in Atlanta,
Okay.
kept telling me. I mean, for years, he was like, "You need to hang out with Rich Scheidner. Like if you sat with Rich Scheidner, you would become completely like
Yeah.
a little kid watching the master, and I was like, I can't wait to meet him. And then over the pandemic, we had him on during one of the marathons, and I remember it was over. He gave me his phone number, and I called him, and then we would talk on the phone for
Yeah.
hours. And he would
Wonderful
just
guy.
tell me the
Wonderful
history.
guy.
I could ask him about any comedian, the most obscure
Yeah.
comedian you can imagine, and he would have 10 stories about him.
Yeah.
And I think him and Paul Provenza are two of the greatest historians of comedy that do comedy. There's some amazing people that are writers and do the stuff, but those two are they the Comedy Hall of Fame needs to have a wing just
I
dedicated
think
to
so too.
them.
Mark Riccadonna, your comedy minute. Go ahead.
Okay, so everybody always asks, "What's the craziest gig you've ever done?" This relates to you. I got a phone call. I
You got me loosened already.
I got a phone call from my agent, and she goes, "Listen, I got a weird request. I don't know if you want to do it." She goes, "There's a group of Amish people who want you to do a Christmas party. They want to have a comedian this year. They usually have a musician, and they want to try comedy. They saw your dry bar special, and they want to hire you. Are you interested?" And I was like, "First off, how did they call you?" Right? They're Amish. How did they call it? She goes, they called, it's a company, they make barn shutters, and like 80% of the employees are Amish, but the other ones, the people who do the deliveries, the people who take them to work, they are just, normal people. So They
There
call
are
them.
no normal people.
They're normal. I don't want to offend your Amish
Yeah, you don't
followers.
piss off
You know,
this Amish. You'll be in the Amish phone book. Go ahead.
so she goes, they, gave a credit card number, so they're serious, and I go, I'll do it. I'd love to do it. It'll be something that'll be, I've never done that before. I'm always interested in trying new stuff. So I get the information. I show up. It's at it's not a country club, but it's like a public venue kind of place that you can rent. And they had the greatest food ever. They had like the smorgasbord food, and it was all homemade, and it was like insane. I brought another comedian with me, and they're packed in this gymnasium, and they're packed in. They go, all right, so you guys start whenever. So we do the show, and what a lot of people don't understand is Amish people don't have pop reference. They don't popular culture. They have no idea about anything. And I go up and I'm like thinking I can, like a guy came in late. He was standing in the doorway. He's all in black, got the jacket on. He's standing in the doorway silhouetted. And I was like, oh, look, Johnny Cash decided to join us. And like nothing. They had no idea. And some guy in the back goes, they don't know who Johnny Cash is. I'm like, I don't know Johnny Cash. Oh my God. So I freak out, right? And I'm sitting there thinking, like, do jokes about the human condition, relationships. Everybody can relate to that. So while this is all going on in my head, I tell a joke. And this is the joke I told him that won him over. I go, a guy walks into a bar. He's with his wife. He goes over to the bartender. He goes, hey, bartender, give me a drink. Give Donkey Face anything she wants. Bartender goes, excuse me? He goes, give me a drink. Give Donkey Face anything she wants. The bartender leans over and goes, ma'am, do you know he calls you that? And she goes, yeah, he always does that. Standing ovation from the Amish people. They were like, they wanted me to become mayor. They were like, this guy's great. So I started talking about kids because then I locked in, right? And I go to this one guy and I say, hey, you have kids, right? And somebody in the back yells, Grandpa, Grandpa. And I was like, you're a grandparent, even better. Your grandkids, they're all different, right? That's awesome. Like, kids are different, right? Like your grandparent, your grandkids, they're all different. How many grandkids you have? The look of fear that came over this man's face. He had no idea how many grandkids he had. So he looks at his wife, and usually, the old comic joke is that the wife knows and the husband doesn't. Like if you ask how many years you've been married,
Yeah,
husband
right.
has no idea, wife knows to the date. So he looks at her and she just goes, so I'm like, oh my God, it doesn't matter. They're all different, right? And he goes, yeah, yeah. So I do the bit about my kids being different. After the show, I'm shaking everyone's hands. I'm talking to them as they're walking out and, thanking them for letting me be there and all that kind of stuff. And I see Grandpa beeline toward me. He's coming with he gets right up to me and he goes, I figured out how many grandkids we have. And I'm like, oh, awesome. How many? And he goes, 87.
7.
87 grandkids. And I look at the other comedian I was with. I was like, well, now we know what they do with their free time. When I'm not out working, I'm plowing the fields. Fields is my wife. And that's 100% true. Like, yeah,
I,
100%.
when you said 87, I'm trying to do the math in my head. How many, sons and daughters do you have to have that many grandkids?
Well, he told me he had 11 kids.
That's
He had
still
11. So
that's
now,
still eight per unit.
yeah. So each one of his grandkids or kids had 8 kids. That's a lot of kids. Like that's too many kids. I have two, and that's a lot. I
87.
can barely keep up with two.
I that is a great story.
My kids are at my parents' house right now up the street. I'm at my
Yeah.
brother's house. I'm gonna milk this for as long as I can. You want to do a second podcast? I'm cool. Like I'll stay here for a few more hours. Sorry, kids. I had a podcast. It was so important that I stayed.
The guy was such an idiot. He had no clue. He didn't have anything together.